Whoever has the most reps wins. It is impossible to practice shooting free throws every single day, 365 days a year, and not get better. Because there's finite variables. There's a free throw line, there's a 10-foot goal, and you. The human machine is meant to adapt. It's meant to get better. That's what this show is about. Your body is just an instrument of the mind. Welcome back to the Mind Fluxed podcast, a show for creators and doers who want more and aren't going to let anyone stop them from getting it. Guys, on this show, our episodes are tips, tools, tactics, ideas, and ultimately a resource for you to use to get bigger results and to get better results. And today we're going to talk about taking control of your life now and forever. And the reason why this is so important is because everyone is chasing control in some area of their life. And it could be hands-on, trying to force it, or it could be hands-off, trying to let it happen with your finances, with your fitness, with your relationships, whatever it may be, you're looking for control. And we know that our audiences they're willing to learn, to pay the price, to do what you have to do and try to, again, make it happen. But the only way it's going to get there is to change your mind and to change your view on it and to see control from a different perspective. So I'm your host, Tristan Parmley. We're produced by Benji Got Beats. I'm joined by our co-host,
Josh Matthews.
Let's get right into it, man. I should say, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see our beautiful faces and you can subscribe. And if you're listening on iTunes, leave a review. But Josh, what is control? Why is control so important? And why do we have to bring this onto an episode?
Yeah, so, with control, I think it's like, I'll say it like this. Everyone in their life wants control in some type of form or fashion of their life, whether it is their finances, their mind, which is like very big, especially like with what we talk about with mind flux, with their physical fitness. Like everybody wants to feel in control. Nobody wants to feel just out of control and feel like that, their life is just circling around in a whirlwind. As humans, as people, we are seeking control. And the way that I think about control is like, say you're driving a car, right? Control. Imagine, like, you have full control of the car because you can make it go left, you can make it go right, you can make it stop, you can make it go. Now, imagine if you didn't have control of a car. Imagine if, you were driving and you were just going any type of way. You were spinning around in circles and doing donuts. You had no control over it. I bet you would be terrified. I bet you would be just completely just shitless scared out of your mind that, you want to crash. And that's what a lack of control feels like. And so that's a feeling that a lot of people necessarily just don't want in their life. They want to feel just, like the captain of their ship. And be able to direct their life in a certain way, and that's where confidence comes from. Like, that's where the feeling of confidence in your life comes from, when you know that you control the direction of your life. Now, you can't control everything, but if you can control most things in your life to get to a certain point, that's when the confidence comes into play, and that's when you really feel good about your life and the different things around your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing some comments on our live. If you're listening on again on YouTube or on iTunes, we are streaming these episodes live on our Instagram, so that way we can get some contributions from the audience. And I'm seeing people say ownership and mastery, right? It is critical to getting control, is having that ownership, right? So Josh, I like what you said, is control is having that confidence in the direction of where it's going, right? Like the car. But there's some other ways to look at this same thing too, right? Control is a result that is consistent and expected. So like Josh said, if you're going down the highway and you turn left, you expect to go left, right? And there's variables in that. The road might be wet. You might run into gravel or rocks, or you might be going too fast, right? So you can control the variables that affect the car and where it's going. If you're not in control of your finances, a lot of people say you'd be in debt. A lot of people say having debt is in control of your finances. In sports, there's penalties for a lack of control. Whoever has most control over the ball or the score usually wins, right? In football, that's what the offensive line is supposed to do. But if they lose control and they're holding on to somebody, there's penalties for that. In basketball, there's dribbling. But if you pick the ball up and run with it, even though you're taking control, that's traveling. So control is a very touchy subject because it comes with so many variables. It comes with so many parameters. And when we were talking about this, you said too, it's like a fight. Like if you had somebody up against the wall and you can just move them around, just like a car. I just realized I was just driving. Control has so many pieces to the puzzle. And I think when we feel anxious, when we feel stressed, when we feel worried about what's going to happen next, it's usually coming from that feeling you said, a lack of control. And to move on, control is perceived. It's a win or a loss. Like I said, it's an expected result. So whatever you perceive, whatever you think you are supposed to get, you're going to. And a lot of people are control freaks, right? Like I'm in our business, Josh and we're these two people right here. I'm a control freak who has to touch everything and look at everything. And I've been pulling back on the reins on that because I'm not the most effective control freak, right? And then there's also the opposite end of riding the wave, figuring it out as we go, like smooth is fast or what is it? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? The other side of that, and that's Josh, right? And what it comes down to, that perceived control is really just how you feel on your own terms about the situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
I'd say that's how we kind of are, you know?
yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's just like, you know, like I said before, like we all like seek that feeling of control. Like I don't know. It's like and don't, and because there is like a other side of it where it's like control can be like too much. It can be like overbearing, but like we're more so talking about it to where it's like, you know, the good control, like, because like I said, everyone craves that in their life. Like, and I think about it like this. So I'll tell this story. So like, I know when I'm not like in control of things. I know like when I like feel stressed, like I have this like dream all the time. And this is when I know, I need to like kind of like step back and like kind of reset and get back control of my life. So it's a weird dream. So for me, right, it's I know when I'm stressed, I know when I'm out of control when I'm asleep, and then I feel like you know, on those have you seen a movie or a cartoon where it's like someone's running down a hill and it's like a snowball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger? Like that's when I know like I'm not really like in control. Like if I have
You
that
have
dream,
that dream?
I
You
have
see
that.
the snowball?
Yeah, and it's right behind me, and that's when I know I'm not in control. And that's not a good feeling. And I don't know if anybody else has any experiences like that, when you know, like when you're not in control of something and you feel overwhelmed of a situation. But one thing that you got to do when it comes to like when you feel that, like you have to like take a step back and figure out how you can get the reins back and like and get back on path to where you need to go. Because like one thing that I found is like when you're out of control, you know, just as a human being, like you make rash decisions. You make
Exactly.
decisions that probably aren't in your best interest. You're having thoughts that aren't in your best interest. You're interacting with others in a way that's probably not in your best interest, because like you're trying to just like you're in like panic mode. You're in panic mode of trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get back to this, instead of like kind of like thinking about it and making, you know, having educated thoughts on like what should I do next, the best way to get back on track to what I need to do to get to where I want to go.
Exactly. Like getting back to that feeling of confidence, right? And I would say I have the opposite. So like when you have more things on your list, and that's why we say control is a double-edged sword, that it is perceived, because when you have more things on your list and more like baskets and more things going on, right? It's like a snowball building up. I have the opposite. I'm like in a blank space. I'm in an empty field. Like, you know, in the movies when people have like you said a cartoon, remind me of a movies, and somebody has like an epiphany, or they have like a flash, or they're like having an imagination and they're in just the middle of like a grain field or a wheat field and there's like nothing out there just for miles. That's what it feels like when I don't have stuff to do, when I don't have projects to work on. I'm just out there floating and wondering what's going to happen next. And I know a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, feel exactly what you feel, and they feel exactly what I feel. Some people see it exactly as you see it, and they understand that snowball effect, right? And so they ride the wave and make the decisions as they come. Other people like me see it as more of like, if I don't have something to do, then we're getting nowhere, right? Like I've got to like find something. And that can be dangerous. Both can be dangerous, but both can be healthy. So let's move on to, I think the biggest fact about control is that you cannot control everything. Okay, we've talked about what control is and what it feels like, and I think everybody can resonate with what we're saying. I think a lot of people feel like you or feel like me, but regardless, the crystal clear fact is you cannot control everything. It never comes from force. Even if you're rushing and doing things and adding to your list like me, it still doesn't come from force at any point. Force is reaffirming, trying to force it is reaffirming that you're out of control, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's huge. So it's like you can't control everything. And I think this goes back to, like, I've said this on previous episode. It's like, whatever it is in your life, like, you cannot control, like definitely like have the goal of the result that you want, but just do what you can in the process to getting to that result. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you can control. You can control what you do right now. You can't control what happens 30 days from now. Like, you can think about it all you want. You can like have it on your mind all the time, but you cannot control that result until you actually get there. Like, you don't know what it is until that day actually comes. So it's like, you know, when it comes to control, like, one big thing is like the main thing that you have control over right now is like this second and the next minute and the next hour on what you're going to do to get to where you want to go. Like, and I think that's very important for people to like really realize, is that like, just pay attention to now and do what you can like now that will lead you. Because it's like that, it's that compound effect that we always talk about too. It's like, it's like, as long as you're doing things consistently and you're taking certain actions to have control and to eventually have the control that you want over your life, you know, in the future, like, you just have to consistently do it on a consistent basis every single day, and the result will come. And that full control over your life, whether it is your finances or your physical fitness, like, even like physical fitness, right? You can't control. Only thing you can control right now is like what you eat, how you work out, you know, how you sleep. Like, that's what you can control. You can't control what's going to happen. Like, you can't control the full like body look like right now. Mm-hmm. Like, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. So exactly. It's like, so it's just like, you pay attention to the now.
Exactly. And you can think of trying to force control. Like, you can tell when somebody can't dance, but they're trying to do the same moves as somebody else. It's forced. You can tell in basketball. You even said this too, like when you're dribbling, you can tell somebody who's smooth and has the ball and somebody who's just like a kid when they first get it and they're just like smacking the ball. And even like some more realistic examples, like you can tell when people are like the reins are let off of them, like freshmen coming into college, right? We know multiple people who are hospitalized because they came from, you could say, a sheltered life, and then they get to college and they go crazy, right? And I've got a close story of a family member of mine. You could tell, like, parents forcing authority over their kids. Control cannot be forced. It's meant to be fluid. It's meant to be smooth. And sometimes that does mean slowing down. Sometimes that does mean hitting the brakes, okay? Because we did this in business. We tried to force control and we made a big mistake. For all of 2019, yeah, we learned a lot. I mean, it was a great year, but at the same time, we forced ourselves into our office every single day, sun up to sundown. We didn't even know when to sundown because our office didn't have any windows. So we would just be in there and then, oh snap, parking garage is going to close. We got to take off. Just trying to force it, beating on the door until it breaks. And it didn't work. We've actually made more progress now with everything slowing down. And the way that I like to think about it being smooth is, again, that car analogy you said. If you're going to the store, you know that you can't just slam on the gas to get there. You've got to slow down for turns. You've got to stop at all the red lights. You've got to stop at the stop sign. You got to use your turn signal. You got to look at other cars. So all you can do, it's like what Josh said, is control the variables second by second, but you know what you've got to do to get to the store. You probably go there all the time. But every single day, regardless if you like it or not, you got to get there the same way. You got to still stop at that stop sign. You still got to use your turn signal, right? And you have to do the same consistent actions. So it doesn't matter if you slam on the gas or not. you're not going to necessarily get there any faster, because you could crash, you could get pulled over, you might get a driver in front of you who's too slow, right? There's so many variables. So when it comes to that control, you need to be present. That'd be one of the first steps, is to be present and understand that a lax of control is still control. Not lack of control, but lax, relaxed, smooth, confident, that feeling. So the things that you're doing with confidence, that feeling, and the things that you don't have that feeling in, you need to continue doing consistently until you do have that feeling, like you said, every single day.
Right. And what I want people to think about right now is like, think about like what it is in your life that you know you lack control in, and or also like think about why you want control over certain areas of your life. Because like even like me and Tristan, we have our certain stories to where it's like there's a reason that we are consistently trying to better ourselves, and that way we have more control over our situation. Mainly just being, you know, is the way we grew up. Because like I know for me, like, you know, growing up and not being able to, you know, and not having the lifestyle that I thought I should have had growing up, you know, just when it comes to like family and just like, you know, a household that I envisioned growing up in. Like I realized like as a kid, like I had zero control and I couldn't change my situation, which is why, you know, I do what I do now, is because I want to be able to control that situation and be in a good environment and provide a good environment for, you know, my future kids or my future family to come. Because I think that's like very, very important. So I want a lot of you to like think about like what is it in your life right now that, you know, you want more control in, and why, and then what is it that you can do to get that control.
Yeah. And I love that. It reminds me, I just had this kind of like epiphany. A lot of people like Gary Vee's message. A lot of people don't. One of the things he talks about is, you know, your parents, right? He gets the like F the parents. He gets in trouble for that. But what he actually says, he's like, no, you need to remove leverage for your parents, because you and I, we were a product of our environment at that time. We had the resources that were given to us from our family doing the best they knew how. But when we look back, that's not the life we envisioned for our future children, right? And I know a lot of people out there feel that same way. Well, you can think that about anything. The life you envision your body to be living might not be what it is right now or what it was in the past, right? The way you envision your bank account may not be what it is right now or what it is in the past. You might envision better. And now you can take control and start to get there. So I think we're going to transition into taking control of your life and actually beating down the door, the steps and the right way and the things that you can do, because we've covered some myths. We've covered what control actually is. And I think Josh said it best. That first step is knowing why you want control and what it is you want control over. Is it for safety? Is it for satisfaction? Are you going for a result, a metric, a number, or you just want to feel better, right? And remember, control is about that confidence, that smooth, fluid feeling. What would you say the next thing is to do to take control?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing, and it's like, it may seem like very small, but I think it's like very big. So it's like, for one, you just have to like focus on like the simple things. So focus on, you know, the mechanics, the fundamentals. So like think about it, you know, Tristan talked about, he mentioned basketball compared to like the guy like dribbling all crazy compared to the guy that's like dribbling smooth. Like the guy that's like dribbling smooth and everything, that person has mastered the fundamentals and mastered the mechanics of like how to dribble. Like you don't have to be, you know, super fancy with it. You don't have to be super crazy, because one thing that I found too, when it comes to like, say when I played sports, the best team was always the one who just made the least mistakes, the ones that focus on the mechanics and the fundamentals. Like you don't have to be crazy flashy. You don't have to be, you know, look like a superstar out there. As long as you like just focus on the fundamentals and do the right thing all the time, it's going to show. So it's like when it comes to like your life, like make sure that you're just focusing on the basics, like whether it is waking up early or making sure that you're reading every single day, making sure that you're, you know, meditating every single day, or just allowing yourself time to think. So then that way, when you go about your day, like, you know exactly what you're about to do, and you're just not out here just willy-nilly just trying to do whatever to feel like you're doing something. Like I think that's like very important when it comes to, for one, just taking control over all of your life, is like for one, start with your mind. Like get that right. Get control of that, because that controls everything in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said, master the mechanics. You can find the mechanics in anything, and you need to master the mechanics one step at a time. So what that means is, like the basketball analogy, yes, you can practice layups, but if you can't get to the layup in motion because you can't dribble, you got to start with dribbling, right? If you can't even control the ball there, how are you going to get to the layup? Okay, now you've got that down. Now you can get to the layups. Now you're going to start getting fouled. You can get to the free throws. Guys, it is impossible. You've said it before too. Whoever has the most reps wins. It is impossible to practice shooting free throws every single day, 365 days a year, and not get better, because there's finite variables. There's a free throw line, there's a 10-foot goal, and you. The human machine is meant to adapt. It's meant to get better. That's what this show is about. Your body is just an instrument of the mind. Darren said that on his episode, and Bob Proctor says that a lot. You have a mind, and you can control your body. So if you want to make free throws, your body's got to know what a free throw feels like. Your body's got to know what dribbling feels like. Your body's got to know what that feels like in its muscle memory, right? So if you master the mechanics, if you go through the flow, you're going to get there. Another thing that you can do is set up filters. Set up filters in your life. We have filters for Instagram so we can look better. Why don't we have filters for our life so we can do better? And that can be your routines. It can be your chain of command. It can be what I like to say, the dissemination of information, right? Every military, every fighting force, every fighter has one job that you don't know what the job is ahead of them. They don't really know what the job is under them. They've got their job, right? It's a dissemination of information. Get the things that are most important in front of you so you can get them done. Forget everything else. Right? You don't need to spend hours on headlines or meme pages or whatever that aren't serving you. You don't need to spend hours watching the news. You don't need to call everybody and get the daily drama, right? That is going to make you feel out of control because you're going to be observing everyone else's lack of control. Drama, hearsay, etc. is basically a bunch of humans laughing about other people's lack of control. And I'm just now kind of realizing that that's really what it is. Can you believe that happened? Oh, they lost control, right? Even the stuff that's happening right now. And so that chain of command, what is important to the people directly in line with you? Okay, not over here, not over here. Like we said, the car analogy of taking control, right? You're not driving on multiple roads at once. Stay in your lane. You can't get your car on multiple roads at once. If you're on 2 lanes, you are in danger. You need to be in your lane, okay? And again, those routines, filters. We got filters for our pictures. Why don't we have filters for our life? If you set up a routine, it's like a filter to get your mind and body primed. So you said your mind, taking care of that every day, planning your day, getting a plan for the mechanics, right? So I plan to shoot my 100 free throws today. And I plan to read my marketing book today. I plan to call my clients today and talk to at least 3 of them every single day, whatever it is for you. I mean, I don't want to beat that horse to death, but those filters are huge. I think they're very important.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't, other than that, I really don't have much, but I think like my biggest point that I want to make is like, just identify like what it is and like gain that control that you need like of your life. Cause like overall, you're just going to feel better about yourself. Like even to what you were saying, like with the media people who are just like, a lot of people right now are paying attention to stuff. There's so many conspiracies out there. There's so many just like different ideas out there that people feed into. And I did it the first week of quarantine, but it made me feel in a way that I had no control over like what was happening. I had to like sit back and be like, okay, for one, I need to just like stop feeding into this because I can't prove it. And even if this stuff was true, I'm the little guy right now. I can't do nothing about it. Like only thing I can do is like literally just like focus on me and what I need to do to get to my next step. Like you can't try to gain control of something that's just like that the people at the top deal with when you're still a little guy.
Right. You're trying to shoot free throws or 3-pointers and you can't even dribble.
Exactly. So it's like, And it was funny because we were having a conversation with Luciana the other day, and we were talking about all these things. And I was like, look, I'm me. Like, this is my situation. Only thing I can focus on right now. All this stuff we're talking about is cool, but like the first step is like getting my finances right, and then maybe even then making connections to where that way I can start like making some changes. But it's like if you don't have certain control over one level of your life, you can't skip to that five
Exactly.
levels up.
Exactly. You're trying to sprint before you can crawl, right? And we said it, I think, in our last episode about fear, right? Like, you don't put yourself in fearful situations. Like, you don't put your 3-year-old on a Harley. You give them a trike. Too much for them to handle, right? You do the same thing to yourself. And the last thing that I'll say about control, guys, and why we do this show and everything that we do with this brand, it's like your mind is the only and the most effective place for control. Like that, I mean, that's it, because no one has access to it. You are sitting there in your car, at home, at your laptop, on your phone, wherever you are at, listening to this right now. It might be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It could be 10 days from now, or you could be on our live stream right now. But you are sitting there and you're having thoughts, and you're getting this information. And for the first time, you might be looking at it differently. You might be digesting it, but no one else knows what you're thinking. You might be thinking similar to us, but we can't prove it. So that space in between your mind, that space in between your ears, what I meant to say, your mind is the most effective place, and you're fully responsible for it. If you're creating a business, or if you're out there, moving forward to try to get more out of your life, like, it feels like a unique experience, right? And Josh and I, we said, one of the reasons why we want control is because we had similar childhoods, but it's still a unique experience. There's similar factors, right? But ultimately, that's the one place you can control. So you want to set up the mechanics for getting your mind right. Josh said meditation or reading or gratitude, whatever it might be. You want to set up the filters to keep bad auto-suggestion out. The headlines, the conspiracies, the drama, the hearsay, the truthfully irrelevant facts. No, not even facts. Irrelevant information. And you honestly need to know, if you have the mechanics, you have the routines, all that stuff in place, then you just need to have confidence in it, confidence in the system, confidence in where you're going. And then you can let go of the need to control. You can let go of forcing it. You can let go. I mean, you've seen somebody drive white knuckle driving, right? The gripping on the wheel. That makes you feel very unsafe if you're in a car with somebody doing that. But some of you are controlling your business like that, or your finance like that. You're choking it to death. You can't do that. And if you are focusing on your mindset first, control there, then you can let go of the need to control the people around you, the places around you, the things around you, people's beliefs, their opinions, the followers that you have, your faith and what you believe in. I like Luciana. She said the fruit the tree bears, right? Like you can't make apples out of a pear tree, and you can't make pears out of an apple tree. So just know these thoughts, they're going to be coming by the millions. They're going to be coming super, super fast. And of course, you're going to lose control sometimes. Of course, you're going to feel emotions. Of course, you're going to get upset. Of course, you're going to wonder, why did this person do this? But all you can do is all you can do. So if you do those first steps that Josh said, and that we followed up with, you can let go of that need to control, because you have the confidence and belief that everything is going the direction that it's supposed to be going. And I mean, that's honestly all I'd say. Is, like Luciana said, happiness is one thought away. It's just control, taking control.
Yep.
You got anything?
No, I don't.
Boom. Awesome, guys. This is taking control of your life now and forever. But don't exit out of this video if you're watching on YouTube, and don't close the podcast on iTunes or Spotify, because we are going to answer some questions about control. We are streaming our episodes live, and we had some people in the chat ask a few questions. So we're going to go and read some of that and get that to you guys. You might have some of the same similar questions, and honestly, it might force us to look at it a little differently. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and iTunes, and then also leave a review, please, and thank you. Josh, let's get in these questions. You got one already, or do we got to scroll up?
You got to scroll.
Okay, somebody said, I think people should focus on a goal, and if your mind, you also can always make threes in your life. Oh, he's saying because of basketball analogy. Meditation is the best way. Ownership, mastery, great stuff. Okay, here we go. We got a question from Owen all the way in Japan. He says, this is the only question we got today, that a lot of people don't know how to take control of their conscious. So how would you explain overcoming your own inner voice? We've talked about that a few times, but Josh, I'll let you, I think you've got probably the best answers for that because you're better at it.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that someone can do to take control of their inner voice is to like just really just like sit with themselves and like dig deep. So like here's what I mean by that. Like, you know, really sit down, whether it is 5, 10, 15 minutes, like consistently, and just like think about what you want. And also like just open your mind up or write or open your mind up to different ideas and try to filter through them and figure out like what you need to do to get in the right state of mind that you're trying to be in and take control of that conscious. Because like it's probably one of the hardest things that anyone can do, especially if they've never done it before. Because obviously like our mind is so powerful and our habits are so just compacted on top of each other so much that, you know, it's going to take some time. So like, don't look at it as something that you're going to change in one day, because you're not. It's probably not even going to happen in 1 month. But what I can say is like, if you just consistently, you know, do whatever it takes, and it's different for everybody. So I don't have like a concrete answer of like, you know, read this book, write this, do this. Like you have to sit with yourself and like figure out and talk with yourself and figure out what it is that you need to do personally, but make sure it's something that you work on, you know, for more than a week, more than a month. Like commit to it for the rest of your life. Like commit to change your consciousness and for the rest of your life. So like for me and Tristan, like this is a commitment for the rest of our life. This is just not something that we do for 1 week and then we're done. Like from the first day that we started, you know, discovering more within ourselves, like we continue to do it, and we're going to continue to do it for the rest of our life. Because like one thing that, you know, a lot of people got to realize is like this is like a life journey. Like discovering yourself is like a life journey. Like, because there's so much within us as people. Like we have so many talents and abilities. Like as one of my favorite quotes out there, you know, we've been gifted with so many talents and abilities. Like our gift to God is to unravel as much of those talents and abilities as possible. So it's like you got to like really just commit to life to discover your, you know, and uncover your consciousness to get to where you want to be, and just figure out what that is for you.
Yeah. And I would, as you're saying it, it gave me time to actually think. And I think I've had my own little epiphany here. Owen, when it comes to, you know, control of your consciousness and overcoming your own inner voice, you got to understand that inner voice isn't going anywhere. It's going to be there for the rest of your life, right? You have a mind, you have conscious thoughts, you can talk to yourself. So that first step of what Josh said, sitting with yourself and talking with yourself, is extremely important. Why? Because you need to get in conversation with it to get it to take action. You need to suggest something different. You got to understand that inner voice does want what's best for you. But that inner voice is also a product of your body and saying, I want to survive. And we talked about this on the last episode with fear, right? It's not saying I want to thrive. It's saying I want to survive. So the workouts, they hurt. That voice says, stop. Nope. Doesn't feel right. we gotta survive, right? The reading feels monotonous, feels overbearing, because it's forcing your mind to kind of go a little crazy. Whoa, new thoughts, new information. Now I have to think. I have to put energy. Hang on, stop. Right? That is a safety mechanism. So you need to get in conversation with it and say, no, I am going to work with you, and we're going to get better, and we're going to work forward. And I like to think of it like Darren said on his episode. He said that I didn't fall in love with the money I was making. I fell in love with the Darren I was becoming, right? When he was pulling up in a Lamborghini, right? And I like to think of the Tristan that I am becoming and the Tristan that I will become and a daily conversation with that inner voice and the actions my body's got to take for that to get better is what I'm signing myself up for. So when Josh does that commitment to life and overcoming that voice, that's what I think about. It's going to be there. So you've got to commit to that relationship with it. And you've got to commit to working with it, holding it by the hand, sometimes pushing it, sometimes pulling it, but saying, come on, we've got a job to do. It will adjust. The workouts will get easier, right? The mindset, the mechanics will get easier. The meditation will get more effective. The relationships will get deeper. Everything will get better when you start to develop that relationship, because it is in there. It's going to be in there, and it's always going to be looking for a better expression. It always wants to get better. It just doesn't know what's best, and it's your job to let it happen.
Yep.
So that's how I'd say to overcome your conscious.
Well said.
Question answered. Awesome, guys. This is Taking Control of Your Life Now and Forever. Again, please subscribe on YouTube or leave us a review and subscribe on iTunes. We want to be the number one, what is the word? Mindset, right? Brand, motivational brand, entrepreneurship brand, because as we grow, as we get our results, we're documenting this journey. And as you see Josh and I's lives unfold, and as you see this brand become more of a resource for other people, become more of a well of knowledge based on our results, you can go back and watch videos like this and videos from before, and we're going to keep tracking down this journey. So please subscribe and leave those reviews so that way we can grow and get this out to more people. Because obviously, if this information is great for us and it's changed our life, it can change yours and it will change somebody else's. So when you get a little golden nugget, you get a little seed of knowledge and you start to think a little different, share that with somebody. It's the greatest gift you could ever give. You can find us everywhere at Mindfluxed, MINDFLUXED. You can find me at Tristan is Better and our producer at Benji Got Beats. Josh, where can they find you? On IG at Josh C. Matthews. Oh. All right, guys. See you next week.
Peace.